This is David Johnson. I'm an aerospace engineer living in Las Vegas. Recently I noticed a change in airport noise above my neighborhood. This started me on the endeavor of researching the topic. I made this video to help you all understand this complex topic. Sadly, my conclusion is that both the city and the FAA are not our friends. The report clearly states that commercial aircraft create the significant noise. This graph shows that Southwest Airlines is the primary operator at Las Vegas Airport, and research shows that Southwest Airlines fly mostly 737-700 and -800, which are next-gen aircraft. What constitutes a noise annoyance? The answer to the question is different depending on whether you live in the United States or you live in Europe. In Europe, the aviation authorities conducted a survey and asked people how annoyed they were for different sound levels. In Europe, the noise threshold is 57 dBA, but in America, the FAA set the standard at 65 dBA. As you can see from the graph, 65 dBA makes 30% of the people highly irritated. This means people outside of the 65 dB map are still highly irritated. The FAA clearly didn't have the public in mind when setting up these standards. In an earlier chart, we determined Southwest was the primary carrier. The objective was to determine which type of aircraft to use at Las Vegas Airport. This sheet shows the most common aircraft used at Las Vegas Airport. This aircraft comparison also shows that the 737-700 is one of the quieter aircraft. I make this point because politicians will tell you that aircraft will get quieter in the future, but in reality that's very insignificant. This is a map published in the 2006 Las Vegas Noise Report. The blue line is a 65 dB contour for 2004, and the black line is a 65 dB contour for 1994. The FAA and your city want you to assume that there is now less noise at the airport a decade later. The aircraft have become a little quieter, but there's been a 55% increase in traffic. There is no way that anyone can assume there is less noise 10 years later with a 55% increase in traffic. This graph shows how your city and the FAA average the noise over a 24-hour period at the airport or at locations close to the airport, which could be your home. If you are subject to very noisy aircraft but in frequent intervals, the FAA thinks that this is not an issue. I show an example where the background noise is 60 dB and the aircraft average noise for 20 seconds is 80 dB. As you can see, the FAA considers that this is not a problem because the average outcome is a 64 dB average over that period. Obviously, this averaging technique is bogus and needs to be replaced with something a lot more scientific. This chart shows the Las Vegas preferred runway in both east and west direction. The preferred default is in the west direction. The noise report from 2006 clearly shows that the 25 west traffic will reduce by 2017. This is how they managed to reduce the contour map. I suspect this was a political move because actually the real traffic to the west has actually increased, and therefore the noise report is not valid. Here I show one of the nav maps for Las Vegas Airport. Let's consider the default takeoff from Las Vegas Airport, heading west to the Roper Beacon, which is the second red dot. This chart shows a default takeoff direction heading west. Note that when the traffic gets to Rainbow, it splits 60-40. 60% heads south to the southwest exit, and 40% heads north up to Summerlin. The residents below at the turn have quite a lot of noise. Many complain, but to no avail. What's quite stunning now is that the builders are now building between Rainbow and Durango, brand new housing developments in a direct flight of a path out of Vegas. In reality, just plain unacceptable. This is our city at work. The red lines on this chart show where the aircraft actually flew. The black double lines are the routes for the aircraft to follow. This is their roadmap. This chart shows the horrendous noise pollution above Las Vegas. Ironically, most aircraft need to go to the east because this is where most of the cities reside. But the default is to fly west, and so all of the aircraft have to all loop around across the city. This is tragic and it needs to be reviewed. The most desirable solution would be to have more aircraft take off to the east. Ironically, the 2006 noise report actually recommended this. But the reality is most aircraft take off to the west, spewing noise all across the city. I suspect this is because the Henderson city is very powerful and has good lobbyists. The result is we have a very inequitable system when the rest of the city suffers. This noise report does not contain the truth. Most of the detailed data was not included. Also, some of the assumptions are very questionable. I have only covered the primary items that I found in a very short while, but I suspect that there are many other omissions and details that are not correct. The good news is that a new noise report is due in Las Vegas. The FAA states it should be every 5 years, and looks like in reality it's every 10. But we are due for a new noise report. It's now our opportunity to make the next report much more accountable. The 2006 noise report assumed that the westerly flights were between 47 and 42% at this time. I have used the daily data and not the night data because this is primarily the biggest volume of traffic. The airport itself has actually documented that the westerly flights is way in excess of what was estimated, and I have a report there which says we had 67%, which is a 55% increase on the assumption. Sadly, the assumptions are very invalid, and the airport and the city needs to be held accountable for the residents west of the airport. In conclusion, the 2006 noise report is very flawed, and the people to the west are suffering a much higher noise levels than stated in the report. The Las Vegas noise reports are public domain. When we complain, it becomes visible. In summary, the FAA have made some bogus rules and the city has skewed the data. We need to all complain and rectify some of these inequities. If you wish to make a noise report, please call 702-261-3694. It's a recorded message, but you can leave a complaint. The city of Las Vegas could improve traffic patterns and reduce a great deal of noise with some initiative. Change will not occur unless you complain. If you wish to track aircraft movements above your city, download Flight Aware. You can either download it for your computer or you can download it for your tablet. It gives some quite interesting results. And now to future issues. Las Vegas built a brand new terminal, an international terminal, and hope to attract many more international visitors. This means the aircraft mix will change. Currently we have mostly 737s and A320s for internal flight, but in the future you will see more 777s and perhaps 747s and even maybe an A380 at some point. If you look at this chart, you will see that the heavy aircraft have a much bigger noise footprint, which will obviously increase our noise here in Las Vegas. In summary, it's well known that in most cities the air traffic goes to the less heeled neighborhoods. Both Henderson and the city to the North Summerline both have a lot more political power compared to Spring Valley. Also, both the city and the airlines can do much more to mitigate noise here in Las Vegas. But, as they always say, shut up because these visitors are good for us. I say it's maybe time for Las Vegas to grow up and do what's right. Thanks for your time.